Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the new normal. I'm Brian Morrissey, and very excited for this week's episode. Fellow Miami resident, we should have done this live together, like masked up or whatnot. Moksha Fitzgibbons. Moksha is the president at NTWRK, which is a live streaming commerce play. We'll get into it, but first, I got to do my commercial plug. If you're not already a member of Digiday Plus, I urge you to become one. It's the only way you get unlimited access to all of our stories, exclusive content. We do guides and we have briefings and newsletters. And we also do live digital events and original research with our research panel. So please do, if you're not already a member, please join. It makes it possible to do shows like this. And to entice you, we've got a discount because everyone has to provide some kind of intro discount. And ours is 20%. If you use the code TNN at checkout, you'll save 20% on a membership. So hope you consider it and follow through. All right, Moksha, I want to bring you in. Thank you so much. I'm excited to know that I know someone in Miami. This is going to be...
I can't believe we didn't do this in person. You know?
It's going to be life-changing.
We could have done it from the beach. Can we do a follow-up one from the beach?
Yeah, the shirtless one. I mean, this is really, like high enough. I don't think it'll be the censors. We'll get into it. So tell me just a little bit, because we've talked for a little while about like what NTWRK is after. And I just think it's like a really fascinating area, because I think one of the big sort of mega trends that I'm seeing is you get this media that can drive people to an action and that is built around a community is still so much more powerful than media that just collects an audience through platforms and whatnot. So explain a little bit the origins of NTWRK and particularly where it intersects with your experience and Aaron's experience at Complex.
Yeah, so there's sort of, I would say, a few different people that had an idea that was sort of began the architecture of NTWRK. But Aaron and I worked together as a joint venture building ComplexCon, which was essentially a hybrid of a 50% entertainment event and 50% shopping event. And from there, we started to think about, hey, is there a way...
Let me just back up, because for those who don't know, I mean, ComplexCon has become this juggernaut back when people could actually
right. I would say it's like the most important festival for multicultural millennials in the last 50 years.
But it also drives a lot of revenue. Like, I mean, people buy stuff.
Yeah. Right? And that was really the key, is they're not just coming there to be entertained like a Coachella. They're coming there to consume. So it's just as important for them to get content or meet their like people that they hold in high esteem, celebrities, influencers, but also shop for apparel, collectibles, sneakers, whatever they're passionate about. But as we looked at that, it had some barriers of entry. There was physicality. You had to fly to California or drive to it. It was limited to a 2-day window. You had to buy tickets and sort of physically enter. And we started to think about, is there a way to bring really compelling content that features young people's favorite influencers, athletes, musicians, et cetera, and couple that with highly desirable product and deliver it to them in the palm of their hands. And we started thinking like, QVC, HSN had done that from a linear perspective, and we're doing it effectively selling, bad sweatshirts to like my mom or whoever. Mm-hmm. And there was obviously the trend in Asia of live streaming commerce, largely driven by influencers being really successful, but no one had really cracked it here in the West. So we started to look at, hey, could we take some of the learnings from ComplexCon, some of those things, some of the editorialization and the point of view that like a Bleacher Report or a Vice or a Complex might have, apply that to content, make the content really rich, really engaging, and couple it with highly desirable products that people cared about, and do it in an ephemeral window that drives a lot of interest in a specific moment of time and a high velocity of sales transactions.
Yeah, I mean, Pierre just pulled up like where you guys see it sitting in between like media and the commerce platforms and the events and then video and social.
Yeah, the way I think about it is we were really trying to wrestle with, how do we make live streaming video commerce work for the market here in North America? Because anyone who had tried previously, it just didn't stick. And we thought sort of that media personality, the curation, the tonality of a Highsnobiety, a Hypebeast, a Bleacher Report, or a Vice, that would give the experience true point of view and really connect with consumers in a meaningful way. And then to enable it from a commerce perspective, like a sneakers app, like a Farfetch, like a Go, to have the experience be very native, like an Instagram live, like a TikTok, vertical video, something that young people are very familiar with. And then really celebrate these big moments in consumers' lives, whether it's NBA All-Star, a music festival like Rolling Loud, a shopping event like Singles Day, or our own festivals that we've been building, like the one we just did, Transfer, really bring meaningful experience to the palm of consumers' hands and do it in a way that's highly curated and has that stamp of approval.
Yeah, I think like coming at it from like, I mean, because what you're saying is like a sort of editorial sensibility, right? That's a media approach,
Yeah.
whereas a lot of, if you look on that commerce side, it's very transaction driven, very optimized. Depop, maybe there's some community in there. I don't know. But like, it's a different, where I think when content and commerce, I mean, people have been talking about this for 20 plus years, at least in me, but
Yeah.
like when they do come together, it's like you got to come from some direction.
Yeah.
And this is coming at it from an editorial direction, but with the commerce, whereas there's a lot of things coming from the commerce direction that are just trying to append on that editorial sensibility.
Yeah, I would say most successful e-commerce marketplaces, they're extremely utilitarian. Particularly if you look at an Amazon, the most successful, it's anything that anyone could possibly need that's extremely utilitarian. So it's everything from groceries to toothpaste and everything in between. And it fills a void. It's a great service, but there's no editorial point of view there. And we really felt to crack the live streaming commerce market here in the West, that it had to have a strong point of view. People had to trust that point of view. And in some cases they can disagree with it, but that offers value as well. They can jump in the chat and tell us we don't know what we're talking about, but that sort of a contrarian point of view only adds to the connectivity of the platform.
So talk to me about what you saw happening in Asia, because look, there's a lot of stuff that happens in Asia and stays in Asia. It doesn't translate as much to Western markets. But a lot of stuff that happens, and particularly these days, and when it comes to mobile and the melding of content and commerce, absolutely comes west.
Yeah.
What's going on there that's different than that you guys saw than that had been happening here?
Well, there's to your point, there's certainly things going on in Asia that just don't move from there, but generally speaking, they're more advanced in terms of like their adoption of transactionless payments. There's a more, I would say, rabid use of social and video and video commerce. They're just, I think, more comfortable with that medium. And
also, it seems like their platforms are less like ads addicted. Yeah, they run ads, but like I feel like the platforms here, it was like, yes, ads. The answer was always ads, like when it came to making money.
I mean, if you go to Red or Shop, I think this is Red here with the L'Oreal piece, it's essentially like TikTok for commerce. You're just swiping through a zillion different live streams of, it could be a vintage shop owner. It could be a young woman who has a lot of followers doing beauty. And, to your point, there's really not much of an ad experience in it, or that's not the primary focus. The primary focus is a gateway into that shop. So we obviously found that really interesting and thought like there is an approach here. I would say most of the approaches in Asia are not curated. It's kind of like everybody can jump on the platform. Brian could jump on right now and sell those books behind you.
Yeah,
and
my wife would be thrilled.
Do a little show. But our platform is a bit different in that it's all sort of editorialized, it's all curated, and that curatorial point of view we find resonates much more pronouncedly here in the US market than sort of like an open source format.
So talk to me about the point of view. I mean, I think about like sort of where you guys play, and I think we had it up on there, the chart. It is in the sort of the hype beast, high snobiety. I mean, it's for back when we had an office. We had our office.
Right,
well,
right by V5.
We were on Mercer Street, and I saw all the hype beasts and the resellers lining up outside of V-Files and Stadium Goods and Nike store. Our street was like a mess regularly for these drops. Is that basically, I mean, you talk about like for young people, this is the sort of the new luxury, I guess?
Yeah, I think that drop culture is really important to what we do. And we leveraged our knowledge base in that sort of hype beast segment to create proof of concept around network. And certainly Aaron and I had high level of familiarity there in that segment. And we felt like that was an area we could cultivate and onboard audience pretty, sort of seamlessly and get some traction around the app. But I think, you start to see drop culture proliferate beyond, the V-Files, the Nikes of the world. You're seeing it with Mac and Sephora, and, even, Ford just launched their new Bronco and they did it as a drop. So it's moving out into the mainstream and beyond, streetwear and sneaker culture.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned it on this show before, but like of all of the drops on our street over the 3 or 4 years that we were there, the one that drew the most crowds and the most police presence to control the crowds was Kylie. Her lip kit.
Lip kit
was like a riot.
Yeah, it's total. But that, she's taking her influence from what she's seeing Supreme do or Nike do or Adidas do, and just modifying that for her audience. So we sort of took that as an insight too, and sort of what's going on in Asia, what was going on in drop culture, editorialize that. And every day we have a live broadcast that is fun content, features influencers, musicians, athletes, whoever's appropriate, paired with an ephemeral sales window of a highly attractive product. And that sort of time-based and editorialized approach drives an awful lot of interest and a high rate of sales velocity. And the fact
you have shows. Let's talk about that. You have shows, so it's not like I just like open the app and there's something. It's not like QVC that way. I guess QVC. I don't know QVC, but like I'm directed to, I'm like, I want to like see, I watched one show. Oh my God, I forget the
yeah. So
it was like selling like a gold plated scale, which I'm sure is for weighing quarters.
Yeah. So it's like, we did that with this kind of celebrity jeweler who has a high follower count on Instagram. And we basically helped him build a consumer products business that was adjacent to jewelry. So there was a scale, there was a money counter, and they're kind of fun, collectible products. But that one you tuned into was an 8 o'clock broadcast. There's a countdown clock going on through the day, letting people know, hey, you got to get there 8 o'clock. We didn't broadcast it, but in that case, we had 2,000 units. the product sold out in 6 seconds. I think it was priced at $199. So it's like that demand generation that sort of leads into it, but then comes out of it, drives an awful lot of marketing value, not only for our platform, but for all of the partners involved. So when that product
Ben Baller, that's who it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do quite a few products with him. There's the gold money, or the scale, 175. I thought it was 199, but yeah. And who knows?
It's I guess my question with, and particularly around drops, is like, I don't know, the whole drop culture thing to me is interesting because it's sort of uneconomic in some ways. I mean, you don't want to constrict the supply to not meet the demand, like, or you want to raise the prices in order for them to have equilibrium, I think, and my economics 101 class. But, I think drops and the scarcity, the artificial scarcity, leads to a perceived exclusivity that has like tremendous marketing value, right?
That was my point, is like, in any of one of these examples that's on the screen now, there was scarcity with that product. So with the scale, it was 2,000 units. With the prints, I think it was 1,800 units. And the product sells out so quickly that when that sellout moment happens, it reverberates into alternative consumer conversations. So social people are saying, heck yeah, I got it, I'm excited, or F them, I didn't get it. Then you start to see some of the media sort of catch on to that, whether it's a hype beast or a high snobiety. And then if we really do it right, it ends up in the secondary market trading for 2 and 3 times MSRP. And if you're a Nike or, sort of any Fortune 500 company, that marketing value and demand generation that's created out of that restricted inventory reverberates into your mainline product. So it sort of creates a halo effect for the product that's available at your .com or Foot Locker or wherever your mainstream retail is.
But I guess my question then, let's use the QVC. I mean, QVC drives a lot of sales. I mean, that is it's
like a $14 billion business.
Yeah, they move a lot of product. We're talking about moving product. Is NTWRK a marketing platform or a commerce platform? And by that I mean, like, if the purpose is really to generate hype and heat and stuff like this, but the real commerce is taking place somewhere else, then it's a marketing platform, isn't it?
Well, I would say that there's marketing value that comes out of the limited quantities, but our goal is to be a massive marketplace and to generate tons of sales on platform. It will always be exclusive to us. It would always be a collaboration or first to market. So there will be some inventory restraints there, but we believe that we can go from, right now on average this month, we'll probably have 2 shows a day. We think we can scale easily to 10 shows a day. Right now, everything is kind of in the streetwear or streetwear adjacent category. We will open up other categories like women's, beauty, consumer electronics, foods. So you could, in the coming months, you could come to NTWRK and there will be 3 or 4 different programs running at once in different categories. Yeah.
So talk about the expansion then, because community, like the culture is like a big, word that's thrown around a lot in this area.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is that there is some sense of community. Now, this grew out of subcultures. It's not a subculture anymore. It's just literally the culture. And so that has benefits, but it waters it down, I would guess. When anything mainstreams, it gets watered down, and it gets diffuse. So what is the community? Because you could use this for all kinds of things, but then you have like a bunch of different communities, and then what are you about?
Yeah, I think we want that. I think as long as we stay true to our principles around curation and editorialization and having the product always be exclusive and only available with us, and it's not commoditized. You can't buy it at Foot Locker at the same time, or you can't buy it at Bergdorf at the same time or wherever. As long as we stick true to those principles, we can expand, more rapidly into home goods or books or beauty or women's products. And we will develop cohorts of shoppers in those communities. I think we'll even at some point develop kids, but it will be highly curated. It won't be like going onto Amazon and you search, Christmas toys and everything pops up. It will be projects that we do with people like Takashi Murakami or with Cause or with, Mediacom, some of the toys behind me. So it'll always have that editorialization to it, even though it's scaling and it's getting mass. It's like, how sneaker culture once was quite small. Now everyone cares about it. It doesn't make Nike irrelevant.
So talk to me about the attaching creators to this, right? Because I think there's a very big trend, with the power of creators right now. I think a lot of times we call them influencers, but I think creators is probably a better word. Because creators because they have passion fan bases, they can move a lot of products. I mean, I saw what Kylie, fine, that's like, she's
amazing.
Mega celebrity.
She's the biggest. But we have a whole team that works on partnering with talent or partnering with creators on developing consumer products around their brands, or helping them bring to market products that they're working on. So one that I love to point out is a friend of mine manages Christina Martinez. She's a emerging artist from Harlem. I think she has like 60 or 80,000 followers on Instagram. So she's not massive, but we did sort of a custom print and a t-shirt with her. And to your point, she has such a passionate audience. They came into the app, really supported her. Over the course of the show, it did like $100,000 in sales, which is quite meaningful for an artist at her scale. And then conversely, we can work with massive artists like Takashi Murakami, which was in that video you're showing before. And we can do a project with him that in, the course of a 6-minute broadcast will drive $1 million, $1.5 million in revenue. So there's a lot of different ways we can partner with these people. And what's also nice is we can share with them data that shows the audience on network is not cannibalizing on their .com audience. So a lot of them will initially have some concern like, hey, can't I just do this on my own website and sell through? But we're able to show them through data that our audience is 90, 95% accretive to what they're doing. So it's almost like, oh, hey, Christina, you have your .com, which is your store in Harlem, but opening up network is a new flagship store in Los Angeles or whatever market is important.
Yeah. So, how many people who open up network end up buying, right? Because you don't want to become if I go into like Dover Street Market, I noticed that like a lot of people walk out without bags. There's people in the store, but they're not a lot of people walking out with bags. Which makes it not very lucrative, it seems to me. But hey, I'm sure they're fine.
How do you pretty expensive product in there?
yeah, that's true. They don't have to make that many sales. But like, I remember someone pointing that out to me about Colette. Like, they're like, store's always crowded except no one walks out with a bag.
It's all people taking pictures on Instagram.
Yeah.
So we look at it this way, like a traditional e-com, like an Amazon or something like that. They're probably if they're killing it, they're probably converting like 1% to 2% of, viewers to customers. Based on our model, depending on what it is, we're converting between 5 and 15% of the viewers of the episode to customers. And in many cases, like that case with the scale with Ben Baller, we had 2,000 units, but 38,000 people attempted to purchase during the broadcast.
Isn't that frustrating? You're a revenue guy.
Yeah. Well,
take the money.
Yeah, but it also makes people come back for the next one and keeps them engaged. They don't want to miss, so, and particularly with COVID, we saw an increase in sort of, recidivism or people coming back and coming back more frequently during the day, because obviously people had more time, they're at home. The Dover streets of the world haven't been open. So people want access to great content, their favorite influencers and celebrities, and then product that you would get at a Dover street, but you can't get elsewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. Mel just asked a question about a recording being available. It will be available on digiday.com. Also, please feel free to use the Q&A for any questions that you have for Moksha. We got a bunch actually ahead of time, and I want to dive into a few of them.
I hope they're all softballs.
Yeah, I maybe you planted a few, but this is actually one that I'm very interested in.
I was thinking maybe LaCroix could be your next sponsor.
Is there a point where I always thought it was La Croix for a long time? Is there a point where a consumer is simply tired of brand collaboration and exclusive drops, where the market is simply too saturated with them? And if so, like, how close are we to that point? I mean, like, you know, these collabs, I mean, they've gotten like ludicrous to some degree. Like, I think you could make up a collab and like it would be believable at some level.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen it. If anything, it's going the other direction. That people there's more rabid fanship for collaborations and things that have limited inventory related to it, or even if it is mass, getting it early, like, you know, getting it a month before you can get it anywhere else, or 10 days before you can get it anywhere else. That first in line status is still really important to consumers.
That's the stuff that I find interesting, this like perceived exclusivity. Like, I mean, luxury was always about true exclusivity, like you couldn't even get in the store and stuff like this. But there's this, I don't know, perceived exclusivity.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you mentioned Dover Street, like anyone can walk in there and buy any of that, right? But if you buy the, you know, whatever they've got from Sakai right now, most people don't have that. So there's a perceived exclusivity to it, even though I don't know how many stores Dover Street has, but pretty much every major city, you could go in and get it.
Yeah. So with coronavirus, how is this? I mean, like, obviously people are going to open the app more and stuff like this, but from zooming out from a broader perspective, I mean, is this the sort of beginning of the end of of hype in a way? I mean, like, hype's had a good run. And I think everyone, this show is really devoted to what comes out of this period. Will consumer habits change? I mean, obviously, people generally, a lot of people in this demographic have less money in their pockets. But like, will behavior change, or do you think no, it's baked in?
I think the product categories will change. So something interesting we saw happening is from March to April, our sales doubled. And we were quite concerned because we thought, like, we don't know, this is a younger cohort. Are they going to be really economically impacted? We haven't seen that. We've seen their spending go up. We've also seen their investment in more expensive products increase. One thing that is a pretty big shift is home goods and collectibles quickly became our biggest category, where it used to be apparel and sneakers and things of that nature. But as people are spending more time at home, they want to beautify their homes, there has been a sort of more pronounced shift to that. And a lot of those products are still, they have that hype, ephemeral nature to them.
But is that temporary? I mean, I'm curating this lovely bookshelf behind me, but I mean, now that I live in Miami, I wear sneakers once a week, so they're less important to me. How much of these things do you think are like ephemeral changes versus, because, you know, I had Jeff Carajo on, and we talked about, you know, the shift to home goods and joking about how an area rug was the new sneaker. How much of it is just because of this artificial weird period we're in versus like long-term shifts?
I think it's pretty much here to stay. You know, I don't know how long High Somebody's been around, 15, 18 years, something like that. But I think this is part of what consumers are all about and what they're interested in. I don't see it shifting.
Okay. A couple other questions. How, how do I register for the creator fund on TikTok? That's a very specific one. I'm not sure if you know the answer to
You
that.
just go to TikTok.com and do it.
Yeah. What do you think? What category isn't present in live stream shopping that ultimately will win by using it? Like I mean, beauty is an obvious one. I think they're probably dipping. I know we've written about it on
Yeah.
calls. But what are some categories? I mean, you mentioned home goods, but what are some categories that you think this works for? Because I think people go to the obvious ones. They go to sneakers and they go to
Yeah.
beauty.
So I think the big ones for us are collectibles will be huge. Things that are sort of in that Comic-Con-esque type culture. So entertainment-driven products. Women's, clearly, beauty. I think also food, obviously non-perishables, but things like hot sauce, products like that. Like you see brands like Truff, which is, we did a collaboration. We helped sort of create a collaboration with them and Red, the AIDS Awareness Foundation. And again, it's like $18 hot sauce. It has a tie back to charity that drives some interest and demand, and it's offered through an ephemeral product window.
Okay, one other question we have is a little technical, which is what are the biggest issues you faced at NTWRK in making live stream shopping work? Whether it's finding a core video service technology or creating the right interactive experience, or even integrating, the monetization part into the user experience.
Well, there's challenges all the time. Biggest, I think the challenge is always creating something that is fun, irreverent, and connects with the audience in a meaningful way. And, when we first started, we were investing a lot of money into really high quality, almost TV-esque content that was all shot in studio. We sort of quickly found that consumers like sort of the personality in the camera that feels like something that a Kylie
Ben Baller thing was he was using his iPhone, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And then with COVID, everything had to go to sort of a safer at home format. We weren't able to use the studio. So the talent, the hosts, the influencers we're sort of, they don't really need training, but if they do, we're helping them curate that content at home and beautifying it and making it engaging through different sort of motion graphics, different tactics. So I'd say there's always challenges around the content and making it great. And like it's working, but we still feel like there's a long ways to go. And something
does that stay around? Like, I mean, this kind of like, because like you had to go to like, there was probably no studio for Ben Baller to go into, so there sort of was no choice. But
right.
At least it kind of worked better that way.
Yeah. You mean, does the studio go away?
Yeah, I mean, how much do you change the mix? I don't think it'll go away entirely, but are you going to end up? I mean, first of all, you must see that your average cost per minute, I don't know how you guys measure it, has gone down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you like that. It's like kind of like moving to Miami and you get your tax bill and you're like,
right.
Whoa,
better. It's like moving to Bogota.
I love humidity.
Yeah.
Where do you see the balance changing coming out of this with, the really high-end, high-touch, studio work versus a little bit more rough and ready?
So I think we will do a lot of personality directly into camera, like the Ben Baller stuff. That's really working. It makes the consumers feel very personal and connected with the talent. And to your point, it's not expensive to create. But we also have aspirations to create more high quality premium content that is themed around specific content genres. For example, to have maybe each day there's a daily broadcast that's a bit longer. It's in studio, and the theme could be, Mondays could be beauty, Tuesdays could be sneakers, Wednesdays could be apparel, Thursdays could be throwback Thursdays, Friday could be comics related, and make it into almost like a variety show format.
Yeah, but you're generally partnering with people who already have their own followings, they're stars. So I mean, you get marketing benefit from them, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
But what I wonder is, do you want to create stars, or is that like an old model, like where you want to? I mean,
we want to create.
Do you want the Joe LaPluma like of network?
I love Joe LaPuma, but no, I think we want to create. We want to create like almost like variety shows where Billie Eilish can come and sit on that show, talk about whatever her project is, and people can transact around it. We want it to be more like a kind of like a Fallon, right? Like when people have projects, they're coming through and they're doing that sort of like press appearance like they would on the Tonight Show or whatever.
You don't want to grow your own influencer, because then you're dealing with agents and stuff like this. This is why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's more about building the media property.
Okay.
That we can insert talent and brands easily into it, right? So if we had a sneaker show, LeBron could come on that show when he's launching his new product, or the designer from Adidas could come in. There's many different sort of levels of celebrity that we could insert into those to those.
But formats. It's not finding some really charismatic guy who's working at Foot Locker and making him into the next like sneaker influencer.
No, that's not part of the strategy.
Okay, good. It's probably a good idea not to make that work.
Although I do think Joe LaPuma could have his own line of products.
Yeah, why not? I'm sure Rich is
sneaker cleaner, T-shirts.
Rich, if you're watching, get on that.
Yeah, I saw some complex people in the chat. So
okay, good. They're snooping. What about with TikTok? Like, I mean, I always have that. Like, won't they end up going in this direction? I mean, TikTok's not super curated, but like this would seem like a pretty obvious opportunity for them, particularly. I mean, look, assuming that Trump doesn't wipe them off the face of the earth, just I think their roots in China. I think they might think about monetization a lot differently than like an Instagram or something like this. But,
yeah.
Well, we existing platforms like just do this on their own.
I think the curation and the point of view is going to be really hard for a platform, whether it's Facebook Live, Instagram, TikTok. Their ability to scale creators is enormous, but their ability to create meaningful product and point of view around those products it's pretty tough. It like takes some work. I think one of those platforms would be really smart to partner with someone like us and have us be the engine of their commerce.
Yeah. Okay, we had another question that had come in before that I really liked, because rarely do people mention Appalachia.
What was Gerald saying about Travis Scott and McDonald's? It popped up on my screen.
I don't know. I got to get to that. Wait, let me do the Appalachia first. It starts with a statement: trends rarely start in more rural areas. That is true. How long until live stream shopping breaks in to places like Appalachia? I'm sure in your map, it's very heavy in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, like, the regulars.
Those markets. But I will say this, I don't know if it's true this year, but last year, our number one customer was a gentleman from Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah, and it was purely a function of, in my opinion, no retail options in that market.
Yeah.
Like there's nowhere to get, cool Funko Pops or Bear Bricks or skate decks or cool sneakers. And, this one guy, I think last time I saw it, he had spent over $60,000 last year. And I think it's like, obviously there's not as many people in those markets that care about culture and care about these kind of products, but there are some, and we're offering a very valuable service to them.
Yeah, that's why I think the growth of, you know, the streetwear as this cultural force is so interesting. Because I did a podcast a couple of years ago with David Fisher, and you know, he was a kid in Zurich who could be just as connected to the culture, having never been to New York. I don't know if David hadn't been, but like,
Yeah.
you know, it was being incubated. But what he was obsessed about was being incubated, really, in large part in New York City and Los Angeles and stuff. And
Yeah.
like, he could be in Zurich and be just as.
And I would say David created the most meaningful sort of new to world luxury brand in Europe, you know, at least in my lifetime.
Okay, so that man's Papa John. Gerald Flores says Travis Scott X McDonald's.
Well, yeah, Travis Scott just did a deal with McDonald's. You can order like a Travis Scott meal, and I think they have apparel and all that. And I think that's when you were asking about like how big things get. And I think his comment was like as big as McDonald's.
Okay. Well, I mean, we will see. But we had another question with AI transforming shopping. I'm not sure exactly what that's
about. AI. Well, I would say, I don't know about AI, but we are doing things in like the AR arena. We did our first sort of ever virtual merchandise sale a few weeks ago. We did it with an artist, and basically he designed a Nike sneaker with wings. And for, I think it was like $2.99 or $3.99, you could purchase it, and then basically you can sort of place it on any of your Instagram photos or things of that nature. So I do think there's a lot of opportunity in the Virch space, particularly because it's, you know, for those very limited products that sell out quickly, getting a virtual version can be fun. It's a low bar to entry.
So we had a question about shoppable media, and it's different than live stream shopping. Like, and I always think like, just because you can like click on something and buy it like right there doesn't mean people will do it. I mean, when people, you know, go to a live stream shopping experience, they're there to shop instead of it just being like, hey, you came for something else, now buy something, which is weird.
Yeah, I mean, the example we just did with TikTok, not to sort of get into their numbers, obviously we did the first ever shoppable live stream on TikTok, and you know, they drove massive viewership to it, but the conversion rate wasn't sort of what I had hoped it to be. And we did the same product broadcast on network, and the conversion rate was quite high. And I think there's something to people going to a destination with the intent to shop versus the intent to be entertained. You're going to convert far less when you're coming to be entertained than when you are coming to shop. And I sort of always say, like, you know, if we can get 250,000 people watching a piece of content who all are pre-registered with their credit cards and wallets set up, you know, imagine that's, you know, it's Madison Square Garden times 12 of people that will potentially purchase at that moment or came there with the intent to potentially purchase.
Yeah, exactly. If like, I would like, we've talked before, so I know it's a key metric, but getting people to register to have a wallet is like critical, right?
Yes, it's the most important thing we can do. So the way we monetize is you know, we do monetize viewers through some advertising and sponsorship. That's in pretty nascent stages, but 90% of what we're doing is all around transactions. So it's absolutely critical that as we're pulling people through the funnel, they just don't download, that they go through the full registration process and set up their wallets.
So how many people have set up wallets?
Over 1 million.
Okay. We had a statement, but a question actually from Caroline Giekrich, which is how many people from TikTok then converted into network app users?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but
a lot of new people got exposed to the app. And
I do know this. It grew our TikTok page on network, or our network TikTok page, by like 90,000 the day we did that. So we probably converted 10% or so of those people from TikTok to network.
Okay. All right, we're gonna leave it there. Moksha, you got to come over. I'm gonna try to sell you a book.
Yeah, we could do it. We could just do it live on network. What else do you have over there? You got any?
Let's do it on network. It'll be a collab.
Any collectibles? What's the horse?
This is not my room. This is my wife's room. This is just some art.
She's a fan of horses, though. I see multiple horses.
Yeah, she's an equestrian.
I know there's many horse farms here in Miami.
Is there?
Yeah.
See, I'm new to the area. I don't know.
All right, well, text me or send me an email. Well,
yeah, no, I'm gonna be over tomorrow night. I already told you.
Okay, great.
All right, Moksha, thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys. See ya.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Next week we're gonna take a total right turn and have Allison Murphy on, the VP of Ad Innovation at the New York Times, to talk about everyone's favorite subject, the cookie, and first party data. And I know a lot of people who tuned in for like live stream shopping are like, the overlap is probably not gonna be tremendous, but you're all welcome. It's gonna be awesome. The third party cookies going away. It's very worrying. Anyway, thank you all for joining us, and hope to see you next week or in a future week.